Okay, Tammy, so you're back for your Somatic Memory Repatterning Technique interview. So this is you a couple of days after the first session. So we had two sessions with you. The reason being, you have had kind of complex chronic trauma in your childhood. So these issues are not just as quickly kind of dissolved as a limiting belief or a bit of a block where there hasn't been any significant chronic trauma. But in your case, we worked deeper, and this was great because you're part of a trial just to see how this is, if it works on conditions and issues like yourself. So you first reach out to me to say you had kind of, would you call it OCD?
Definitely OCD, yeah, big time on safety issues, locking the car doors, locking the house. I would go into panic mode that someone's going to get in or something's going to happen. So yeah, definitely OCD. Complex, I suppose.
Yes, yes. And you said your husband would get annoyed with you. There was like lots of environment. You're fearful that the neighbours are judging you and people are kind of like, watching you do it.
Yeah, I had funny looks, funny comments, but that still wouldn't stop me because the urge that I needed to check that door over empowered the embarrassment, really.
Yes, of course. I completely understand that. This is about your safety and survival, isn't it? So how do you feel now you've had these two sessions compared to where you were?
I'm really surprised with the difference, especially, even after the first day, there was differences. I still had that empty feeling that I said, I think that's because it took out some of the trauma and then what was there to replace with it, because you don't realise that it's buried deep, your body's holding on. But I feel now that I can, go out and there's not so much panic. If I am checking, it's literally a few times, but it's not with that intense, this is awful, something terrible is going to happen, it's going to take over. And yeah, I've had to do my homework, but I found it's really easy to do. Once you show me the process, it's easy and it just takes a few minutes, and like now I find I don't even have to do it hardly at all, really. But yeah, it was just nice to go and leave the car and not have to walk back and see has it been done. So it has already made such a big difference that I wasn't expecting, if I was honest, so quick. So yeah, I'm really pleased with the results, and definitely recommend it.
Oh, I'm really happy for you. Have you had therapy and treatment for this before?
I've had therapy before. I've had cognitive behaviour, but for me, it didn't work. I think because of the thought of having to change it with, and they say, oh, leave yourself feeling uneasy, but for me, I needed to check. The uneasy feeling wasn't what I needed to check. So it just, for me, it didn't work. With this, just, well, I'm quite surprised.
So that feeling of uneasy and lack of safety was actually driving the behavior. That was the
Oh yeah, definitely. It was feeding it almost. That feeling of intent. Now I think it's probably a bit of habitual checking because I've obviously done it. But even like I had a few moments literally yesterday, and that was like nothing. I've managed to just stop myself, which is something I've never been able to do before, and actually just stop and say, oh, you don't need to do that. That was really overpowering, shocked me that, oh, you don't need to do it anymore, you're all right.
wow. Could just take a moment to like breathe that in. That is absolutely massive compared to how you explained lived your life.
Time it was really overtaking my life. As I say, it was winding my husband up. He couldn't understand it, but even him getting cross was just not stopping it, because even if he said the door's locked, wouldn't believe him. Wouldn't believe him. I've got to check the door's locked. Whereas, just going out, taking the dogs for a walk, just literally just maybe checking once and walking away. But it's not I've got to check for safety. It's not got that feeling. It's just, oh, I'll just check to see whether that's locked and walk away. So which is really good, which is not, probably what a normal person does, one check and walks away. So it felt normal.
What difference has this made to your life, would you say?
Oh, it's just made me feel less anxious about things. And it's just, well, speeded up time because I was like checking the car takes time, just to be able to go out and not to think, oh, I've got to give myself an extra 10 minutes to check the car's locked. So big difference, and just to just think, oh, that nobody's got anything to look at now, and laugh at, which is really nice.
Yeah, and how do you feel inside your nervous system? Because this is all about nervous system regulation. So,
So much more calmer, in control of like my internal thoughts and things. Just the big difference. I just feel in control now, whereas before I didn't feel in control. It was almost like something was taking over. But to feel in control of my own body, person, it's made a big difference.
that's incredible. Has your husband said anything? Has he noticed?
He's not quite yet, but I think he doesn't like to say too much because he thinks, oh, what's this? So I think he has noticed secretly, but I don't think he likes to say too much, bless him. But he hasn't been moaning at me, so that's a good sign.
That's a good sign. That's a good sign. Um, because you said to me you had a big day yesterday, you were going out and you were going into an environment where you knew normally kind of triggers you a little bit. How
Yeah,
you said
I
you
had to leave my car for a while, and actually I think I just literally locked it, glanced, went away. Whereas before I would be going walking back and I could just get on and enjoy my day without thinking, oh, the car's not so. And I must have, yeah, I just literally glanced, it was just like, oh, okay, done that, done this, right, off we go, I can go out. So it just made which before that would have been a big trigger that, oh, I'm leaving my possession there and I'm not going away from it. But yeah, no, it was just so nice just to be able to just not worry about it and just walk away.
well done, well done. And do you think you'll carry on the process?
Yeah, definitely going to carry on the process. Because obviously there's it unpeeled one bit into another. But so yeah, definitely. But it's just so nice to have some tools now that if I do find myself getting into that space, I can think, oh, do this, and then I know I've got, something that's a backup plan if I need it.
Do you find the advanced version, so the second session when we brought in some different elements, do you think that helped, or are you still doing the first one?
No, I think the second session really made a big difference because my mind was felt more scrambled, which I think it needed. So the second session was the most powerful, especially with the eye movements and things, because it really got my brain, oh,
Well, I don't know. Let it go.
I think it really got deeper into my nervous system. Whereas the first session was good for finding the problem,
Yeah.
because obviously it was a problem that I said to you, I've never spoken about before to anybody in counselling. But when we started, looking back and found that problem, I was like, oh my gosh, that's really bad. And how my tried to block it out of my body and not own it, and but once we started clearing that up,
Yeah.
so I think, yeah, it with the two sessions it really did make a difference.
Yeah, I think you've done incredibly, incredibly well from everything that you've been through, from how it was affecting you, because our behavior is just a result of a dysregulated nervous system, or regulated if it's good behavior, good actions, self-care. But from where and how long have you lived with this, Tammy?
Oh my gosh, it must be 15 plus years, so it's been such a long time. So I really was not expecting the change so quick. something that's been part of my life for 15 years, and now it's like, oh, what was that about?
So it's really important that we start to think about the self-care habits that we now want to embody, because I know, and I trialed this on a couple of women with deep issues, and they all felt that the lack of they'd identified so much with their trauma that they'd become that victim person, and to pull away from that and pull away from it relatively quickly, it's like, oh, I feel a bit lost without it. And you felt that too, didn't you?
Yeah, the next day I was like, after the first session, I was like, oh, it was like a big part. It is. It was like, as I said, I explained, it was like an empty feeling in the heart that, oh, where's that gone? You know, because you don't realise, as you say, you've brought yourself up as the victim. You know, something horrible's happened, but you've allowed yourself to carry this on for longer than necessary, really. But that's just you know, you've done it. But to get rid and then get rid of it, it's like, oh, now what do I replace that with?
So this is a really important key. So now, you've taken the first massive steps, but now it's like, okay, what does the new version of Tammy like to do with her time now? How does she like to take care of herself? How does she like to nurture herself? Where does she feel energized? So it's really finding the positive habitual replacements and just
Yeah.
new.
Think I've you know, it's given me more time to enjoy my dog walk, you know. So that's my self-care, get out in nature, and you know, I can spend more time. I can take the car out and go a bit further afield now. So I'm going to be Tammy the Explorer, I think.
Yeah, and you know what I loved about you? You really got into it. Like, we did singing, and in your own space, you were like thrashing, and you were howling. You were doing everything.
It's the howling, you know, it was just like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, that really needed to come out. And I'm normally quite a shy person deep down, so I was actually quite surprised how I could get into it, and my body just wanted to be that little girl curled up in the corner, you know. But actually, to just sit and think, oh, it's okay, you know, and it was almost like self-nurturing that little girl. And then obviously my seeing the visualization with my horses, you know, I've never galloped down the beach, but I was galloping down the beach, you know,
I
it was
love that.
so powerful.
Yeah, so keep bringing in those practices of, like, when you're on your walks, singing your heart out, like, just absolutely sing your heart out. Just bring in all of that beautiful energy that you can, just to really flood your system with happy hormones. I think you've done really well. Where were you with level of emotional intensity, this ruling your life, say 10 being the worst, 0 being none?
Gosh, I was at a good nine, and now I'm sort of gone down to one. So,
Oh my God. Wow.
you
Yeah.
from 9 to 1 in 2 days, hasn't it? It's just 2 days.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big thing, you know, just to change that down. But I mean, it was ruling my life. It was starting to ruin my life, really. Um, because it was starting to, I was getting annoyed at myself. It wasn't just you know, I was annoyed with myself. Why can't I stop? You know, you feel broken almost.
Yeah, well, you're definitely not that. Your nervous system was dysregulated, and you were finding safety in door checking and the compulsive behaviours. Once the nervous system feels more safe and regulated, the behaviours, whatever they are, naturally subside or just lessen or find a different avenue. And it's a nice feeling of safety, self care, safety, that kind of thing. So I think you've done incredibly well. You've absolutely just opened my heart. So well done, Tammy.
Thank you very much, Anne-Marie, for,
I
for allowing me the opportunity.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that you could be part of the case study. You've been amazing. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you.
Take care, my love. Lots of love. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.